Hello students, today we are going to study the chapter from the diary of Anne Frank from our book First Flight. This lesson is an excerpt from Diary of a Young Girl or the Diary of Anne Frank. It is an autobiography that was first published in 1947. In this, Anne expresses her thoughts in a diary which was gifted to her on her 13th birthday. She names the diary Kitty, which she considers as her only true friend. She mentions about her childhood, her family, and lot other things that she told no one else. ये चैप्टर डायरी ऑफ यंग गर्ल एन फ्रैंक के द्वारा लिखा गया है। ये उनकी पर्सनल डायरी है जिसको वो किटी बुलाती हैं और दोस्त ना होने की वजह से वो ये डायरी लिखना चालू करती हैं और उसमें उन्होंने अपने बचपन, अपने फैमिली और बहुत सारी चीज़ों के बारे में लिखा है। The author feels that it is strange and unusual for her to write a diary about her feelings and experiences because it was the first time she was doing it. She feels this because she thinks that in the future no one would be interested in reading about a young school-going girl's past. She thinks that later even she will not be interested in reading it. एन को लगता है कि आगे चल के कोई भी उसकी डायरी में इंटरेस्ट नहीं लेगा क्योंकि वो एक स्कूल गोइंग गर्ल के द्वारा लिखी गई है और वो खुद भी उसमें बाद में पढ़ने में इंटरेस्ट नहीं लेगी। सो ये काफ़ी स्ट्रेंज एक्सपीरियंस है डायरी लिखना शुरू करना। बट देन शी पुट्स दिस थॉट्स अवे एंड डिसाइड्स दैट शी वुड राइट इफ शी फील्स लाइक डूइंग सो। बट वो फिर डिसाइड करती है कि उसको लिखने का मन है इसलिए वो अब लिखेगी डायरी। सो शी फील्स दैट नीड टू राइट बिकॉज देयर वर अ लॉट ऑफ थॉट्स शी हैड बीन होल्डिंग ऑन टू लेटली एंड शी नीडेड टू गेट देम ऑफ हर माइंड। उसके मन में बहुत सारी चीज़ें हैं और वो उनसे छुटकारा चाहती है इसलिए वो डायरी लिखना शुरू करती है। It is known that writing one's thought act as therapy. She makes the decision of writing a diary. The author feels that paper has much more capacity to absorb thoughts than people. People have low patience level, but a piece of paper, being a non-living thing, would not refuse from absorbing her थॉट्स ना। उसको सुनने वाला कोई नहीं था इसलिए उसको लगता है कि पेपर जो है वो जितना भी उसकी थॉट्स हैं वो सबको क्या करेगा अपने में संभाल के रखेगा। बट लोग के पास पेशेंस नहीं होता है, वो आपकी बातें कुछ देर सुनेंगे फिर बाद में बोलेंगे बस अब हम नहीं सुन सकते। बट पेपर वोंट बी सेइंग ऑल दीज थिंग्स। आप जितना लिखोगे वो सब उसमें लिखते जाएंगे। This realization came to her one day when she was feeling more sad and confused than usual. She could not even decide whether to go out or stay at home at that time. When she finally decided to stay at home, she sat being depressed and in deep thought. Again, she thought that paper had more patience and she decided to write everything that came in her mind because she did not intend on making someone read it unless she found a real friend. वो डायरी किसी को तब तक पढ़ने के लिए नहीं देगी जब तक कि उसका कोई रियल फ्रेंड नहीं मिल जाता। By real friend she means a friend with whom she could share all her secrets. The author then comes back to the point where she thought of beginning to write. It is because she is lonely and has no friend to talk to. She then goes on explaining why she feels the need for a friend. She feels that no one is going to believe that a young girl like her is so alone, which practically she is not, because she has a loving family, near about 30 people that can be called friends, loving aunts, and a good place to stay. This depicts a clear picture of a happy family, but the one thing that lacks in her life is the presence of a true friend with whom she can share everything. उसके फैमिली में करीब 30 लोग हैं जिनको वो अपना दोस्त, आंट या बुला सकती है, बट उसका एक कोई ट्रू फ्रेंड नहीं है. दैट्स वाई शी हैज स्टार्टेड राइटिंग द डायरी. She does have a good time with friends. They talk about stuff, but not real stuff that is actually going on in their lives. दोस्त हैं, बातें भी करते हैं, बट वो स्टफ रियल नहीं होता है, इधर उधर की बातें करते हैं. Despite trying hard, they are unable to get closer. वो कोशिश करती है कि वो उनके करीब जाए, दोस्ती और मजबूत हो, बट ऐसा होता नहीं है. She feels that maybe it is her who is not able to trust anyone with her private stuff, that she is not able to come any closer to her friends. उसको लगता है कि वो उसको किसी पे विश्वास नहीं है, इसलिए वो अपने पर्सनल स्टफ्स को वो शेयर नहीं करती है. She feels that the current situation cannot be changed and thus she needs to write her feeling in the diary. और उसको लगता है कि ये सिचुएशन जल्दी बदलने वाला है नहीं, so it's better to write the diary. Usually when someone is writing in a diary, they list down all the facts about them in a formal manner, which the author does not want to do. This is because she wanted to give her need for a friend a space, a shape, and thus decided to name the diary as Kitty, hoping that someone would read her diary one day. She thinks that writing about giving details about the background story would be ineffective, so despite not wanting to do so, she gives brief details about her life. Now diary में, now you have started at a certain point, उससे पहले की चीज़ें आपको थोड़ा बताना होता है, बट एन को वो चीज़ें पसंद नहीं है पीछे की चीज़ें बताना, बट डिस्पाइट कि उसको पसंद नहीं है, वो फिर भी अपनी बैक लाइफ, पीछे की लाइफ के बारे में थोड़ा सा डिटेल यहाँ पे उसने मेंशन किया है. She refers to her father as the most lovable father one could get. Her father married her mother when he was at the age of 36 and she was 25. She and her sister Margaret were both born in Frankfurt. As soon as Anne turned 4, her father moved to Holland, followed by her mother in September, while both the sisters stay with their grandmother in Aachen. Margaret was also sent to Holland in December, followed by Anne in February, who was brought as a birthday present for Margaret. Now यहाँ एन ने बताया कि उसके जो फादर हैं वो मोस्ट लवेबल पर्सन हैं, उनकी मम्मी जो हैं वो 25 ईयर्स की होती हैं और उनके पिताजी 36 ईयर्स के होते हैं. देन एट दैट टाइम दे हैव गॉट मैरिड. और एन की एक और बड़ी बहन है मार्गट. नाउ इनके बर्थ के बाद फादर एंड मदर शिफ्ट कर जाते हैं हॉलैंड, और वहाँ पे बाद में ये दोनों फिर जाते हैं. In Holland, Anne was sent to Montessori nursery school. It was her first school. She started from first form. She had Mrs. Cooperus, the headmistress, as her teacher in sixth form, who even cried at the time of farewell. In 1941, the author's birthday could not be celebrated well because her grandmother fell ill and underwent an operation. उसकी नर्सरी में जो टीचर थी कोपरस, वो, और जब फेयरवेल होता है, उसकी जब विदाई होती है, वो दोनों काफ़ी रोते हैं. और उसका जो बर्थडे है 41 में, वो काफ़ी सेलिब्रेट नहीं होता है अच्छे से, क्योंकि उसकी दादी का ऑपरेशन हुआ है और वो अच्छी नहीं है. Unfortunately, her grandmother left them in January 1942 and misses her grandmother more than anyone knows. This year's birthday was to be celebrated with great zeal so as to compensate for last year's. She then mentions that her family is doing well, which sums up her background and brings her to the present day of June 20, 1942, when she is writing her diary. So these were the information she has mentioned about her past, और वो आज के बाद से वो डायरी लिखना चालू करेगी. On June 20, 1942, Anne begins writing in her diary, addressing it as her friend Kitty. She mentions how her entire class is nervous about their result. It is unpredictable and will be decided by a meeting of teachers in which they will select students to be moved to next classes or kept back. Many students were making bets. Some had put in their entire summer saving as at stake. She and her friend G also made fun of the nervous boys. They kept on saying to each other that I'm not going to pass, while others would console them and say, yes, you would. G was polite and she tried to stop them from making noise while N scolded them, but none of it worked. According to N, about a quarter of class should not be allowed to pass because they hardly respond or take part in any of the activities. She refers to them as dummies, but this may not be the case because teachers' decision can't be predicted. The author says that she is not bothered about her friends because she is sure that they will pass. The only subject that she is unsure about is mathematics. She seems to be having a tough time with the subject, but all they could do was wait for the result and not lose their hope. She tells how she has a great relationship with all her teachers except the maths professor. He was constantly irritated by the author's talkativeness. Despite several warnings, Anne did not stop talking in his classes, which prompted him to give her extra homework as punishment. The first one was to write an essay on chatterbox, which she thought was a weird topic to write on because what could one write about that? For the moment, she wrote the topic in her notebook, kept it in her bag, and focused on staying quiet. ना बहुत बात करने की वजह से उसके मैथ्स के टीचर ने उसे एक पनिशमेंट के तौर पे होमवर्क दिया टू राइट एन एसे ऑन चैटर बॉक्स. The author came across the notes she made as a reminder for the essay after she had finished the rest of her homework. As you people mention in your diary, क्या homework मिला है आप लिख के रखते हो ना डायरी में. So उसने रिमाइंडर में नोट लिखा था कि ऐसे लिखना है. Now she began thinking about the topic while chewing the tip of my fountain pen. It's a gesture that signifies a person is in deep thinking. While anyone could mention random stuff written for the sake of filling pages, she wanted to present concrete argument in support of talking. ना किसी और को होमवर्क मिलता तो वो कुछ भी ऐसा लिख के पेपर भर के होमवर्क हो गया दिखा देते, बट वो कुछ ऐसा प्रूफ चाहती थी, ऐसा कुछ एविडेंस जिससे कि ये प्रूफ हो सके कि बात करना बहुत ज़रूरी है. टॉकिंग को सपोर्ट करने के लिए एविडेंस वो लिखना चाहती थी. She mentioned that she will try to better herself as a student, but talking is something that cannot be eliminated completely. This is because she got it as an inherited trait from her mother, and this is how she ended up writing 3 pages on the topic. उसने लिखा कि ये टॉकिंग का जो प्रोसेस है ये एलिमिनेट नहीं हो सकता कंप्लीटली, क्योंकि उसने ये अपने मम्मी से इनहेरिट किया है, एंड शी हैज़ कंप्लीटेड अ 3 पेज होमवर्क फॉर दैट. उसने 3 पेज का होमवर्क इस टॉपिक पे लिखा. The professor found Anne's argument to be amusing, but when she did not stop talking in the next lesson also, he gave her yet another assignment as punishment. The topic was an incorrigible chatterbox. Incorrigible refers to a bad habit that is difficult to change. He gave her this topic because he was annoyed of her unstoppable chattering ड्यूरिंग हिज लेसन्स. नाउ नेक्स्ट पीरियड में भी शांत नहीं रहने की वजह से उसको एक और टॉपिक मिला, दैट इज इनकॉरिजिबल चैटरबॉक्स. ऑन रिसीविंग दिस असाइनमेंट द प्रोफेसर डिड नॉट से एनीथिंग टू हर for a while, but when he lost his patience, he handed her yet another assignment as punishment on the topic quack quack quack, said Mistress Chatterbox. नाउ सेकेंड असाइनमेंट भी उसने जमा किया. फिर कुछ समय तक मिस्टर केसिंग ने कुछ नहीं कहा, बट लेटर ऑन फिर वो बातें करने लगी, तो अगेन उसको पनिशमेंट के तौर पे एक और असाइनमेंट मिला जिसका टॉपिक था क्वैक क्वैक क्वैक, सेड मिस्ट्रेस चैटरबॉक्स. ऐसा उन्होंने टॉपिक फिर से उसको दिया. When the professor scolded her for the third time and punished her, the whole class started laughing. As a result, she had to pretend to be amused too. After writing twice on similar topics, she ran out of thoughts. Thus, her friend Sanne, who was good at poetry, offered to help her write in rhyme. This whole assignment scenario was to make Anne feel ashamed, but she made sure that she gave an effective reply. She finally wrote her third assignment in the form of a poem, which turned out to be great. She wrote a satire that a father swan beat his 3 baby ducklings to death because of their noisy nature. To her good luck, the professor took it lightly. The professor recited the entire poem in the front of the class, while giving his own remarks simultaneously. The author, being fortunate enough, talked uninterruptedly after this incident without any further homework as punishment. Also, Mr. Kissing, the professor, started cracking jokes every now and then in front of the class. Now third time भी उसने उस पर असाइनमेंट लिखा कि एक फादर डकलिंग ने अपने 3 बेबी डकलिंग्स को हल्ला करने की वजह से उनको डेथ सेंटेंस कर दिया, मार दिया उनको. और ये प्रोफेसर ने इसको काफ़ी लाइटली लिया और वो भी अब क्लास में क्या करते हैं, जोक क्रैक्स करते हैं. नाउ ही इज़ नॉट एनी मोर सीरियस पर्सन. सो हियर वी कम टू द एंड ऑफ दिस स्टोरी. थैंक यू.